other things, but I want to kind of deal with the church world right now at the moment, because there's a lot of deception going on in the church. And I can get on YouTube and I'm watching and seeing how many people are pulling up other preachers and talking bad about them and saying, oh, they are the devil, they're this, they're that. And you got to be careful when you're doing that. Now, the Bible said, touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm. Now, what if you pick on a man that's anointed and you don't think he's anointed? And now I can give you an illustration of that. If the Spirit of God comes on a man and works a miracle, a healing, something like that, and somebody gets up and says, that's the devil. That's the devil doing. That's exactly what they did in Jesus' time. He casteth out devils by Beelzebub. Now, you see, you got to watch these people that are prone to gossip, prone to talk about other people, because this is another form of witchcraft. That's why God tells you you're not supposed to be gossiping. You're not supposed to be talking about other people. Well, you look in the book of Acts, I think it may be in the 17th chapter, I'm not exactly sure. But it mentions where Paul got run out of a city, and he wound up over in this other city. And he said, now these people, I'll think of it in a moment, but he said these people were more noble than those in Thessalonica. And they received the word of God with great joy. But not only this, they searched the scriptures daily to find out whether it's true. Now, see, I'm smart enough to not talk about other preachers. Did I get your attention? I hope I did. I don't care if I see somebody do something wrong. I'm not going to talk about it. I am not going to give the devil any ammunition to hurt that man or that woman and make it worse. Now, here's the other side of that coin. If I, in the process, like I see some of these, they go on there and they call out names. I've heard them call out Kenneth Copeland, Joyce Myers. I heard them call out others. And I'm going to say something about the guy from Texas, Joel Osteen. Now, I've sat and listened to a few of his sermons. I never heard him say anything in the message that I listened to that wasn't Bible. But I don't watch him. Now, let me tell you why. See, I'm just not a positive preacher. I'm supposed to tell you the truth. I'm supposed to come to you and tell you straight is the gate and narrow is the way and few there be going to find it. That's negative. People don't want to hear that. Don't tell them that. Just preach. They got itching ears. And they want you to preach what they want to hear. And I mentioned this earlier. I had a church that wanted me to come and try out to be a pastor. And I went and tried out, but I knew when I went, they weren't going to listen to me. But you know, the first thing they wanted to do was to find out if I would agree that once you get saved, you're always saved, no matter what you do. I had a woman in Noonan, Georgia. She came in there and she was drunk. And she was my landlord at the time because I was renting a space from her put her trailer. And I was pastoring a little church across the street. And she came in that day, and she was, I think, what she called a hard-shell Baptist, I think is what she said she was. And she thought it was all right for you to be drunk and to just, and her and her daughter, now she had a daughter that was 50-something year old and was a diabetic, and the woman sometimes would pass out on the floor and lay there 12, 13, 14 hours before she'd come awake enough to get up and handle the thing. So the little old dog would lick her in the face until she woke up. But her mother wouldn't come up there. And I started talking to that woman. And I started telling her. I said, somebody's lied to you. I said, go read the book of Ezekiel and Jeremiah. You're going to find what God said to them, on the day the righteous man sinneth, he'll surely die. And if you don't preach to that sinner man and warn him that what's coming, their blood's going to be on your hands. And I sat there and preached to her for probably an hour. And like I said, when she came, she was high as a kite. But when she left, she was sober. And within the next week, she showed up over at the church with her daughter. And she started coming to church and started sitting there listening. And then she got her life straight with God. And her and her daughter was reconciled. And they started living in the same house together. And God put that family back together. But see, if I hadn't have just been honest with her and told her the truth, she could have went on and wound up in hell, and it's been my fault. So, but at the same time now, I'm not going to just look at somebody and see them doing something wrong and attack them. You don't do that, because you are not keeping the royal law of love if you do that. Now, witchcraft uses this, and they use it constantly. I'm going to use this right here right quick. I had on the witchcraft, but I want to show you something about what you're doing when you're gossiping, you're talking about other people, you're running them down. This is what they're using the term today on the news media and the internet, is gaslighting. Gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation in which an individual or a group is purposely made, now listen closely, made to question their own memories, their own perception, and their own sanity. This can involve tactics such as denial, misdirection, contradiction, lying, and ultimately leading the targeted individual or group to feel confused, anxious, and uncertain about their own reality. So then gaslighting is basically lying. And let me I think I got something else here. Yeah. I want you to do this. I want you to go on the internet. Now, I did this on Google, and I did it on DuckDuckGo. I put it in both places. I said, people who have lied about Donald Trump, just to see what I get. I never got one thing said about anybody else lying about Donald Trump. But now I want you to listen. I got June 19th. False or misleading statements by Donald Trump. And in here, it doesn't show up there how many it was, but the next one is CNN fact check Trump on a lying spree. Made at least 40 lies. Trump's false or misleading statements. 30,573 over 4 years. Donald Trump set a new record for the most lies told. 21 biggest lies told by Donald Trump. Now, we fact-checked Trump's recent conference. 162 lies and distortion in this news conference. Next one. Why does Donald Trump tell such blatant lies? And then there's another one. Hey, suckers, get your Donald Trump watch now. Who lied more during the first 100 days, Biden or Trump? But they basically go on out here, the very last one, Trump lied more than 30,000 times. Now, why couldn't you find out that some people lied about Donald Trump? Did you hear anything at all about Russiagate, him being in collusion with Russia? Russia. That's all you heard there. Now, my point again is gaslighting. Now, you got to be aware that these tactics, it's misdirection. See, they tried to misdirect this nation, and God allowed all that stuff to happen because He said they'll see the truth. It'll take these 3.5, 4 years, but He said the people of America is going to wake up, and they did, and they voted Donald Trump in. But my point is, look at how every one of them said that Donald Trump was the liar. Well, wait a minute. What about the Washington Times? What about all the other CNN, ABC, CBS, all them that had lies about it? And you can't get it on that internet because that internet is still being controlled. Why isn't and this I think I got off of Wikipedia. And Wikipedia, it's Wikipedia. And Wikipedia claims to be just telling the truth. But every one of them had to do with Donald Trump lying, but never ABC, CBS, NBC, or any of those. Now this is what the Bible is saying, beloved. Believe not every spirit, but try the spirits whether they're of God or not. Now see, you have to sit back and listen. Don't just grab something somebody says and run with it and go tell. Did you hear what so-and-so said? I started to tell you in the book of Acts. There was another instance that took place where the Apostle Paul, going into Rome, I think it was, and he found that sign that on the outside of town said to an unknown God. I kind of jokingly said he picked that sign up and walked into town and said, this unknown God whom you ignorantly worship, him declare I unto you. That's exactly what he did. He didn't pick a sign up, though, I don't think. But I just said that because it draws attention. Now, notice what he said. For these people lived on, the only thing they lived to hear was something new, something that they could tell about. In other words, just gossip. That's all that whole city was called over by this spirit of witchcraft. And just having them talking about this person, about that person. And they never stopped to think and ask themselves, is that really the truth? And how is God going to look at this? How is God going to look at me if I'm doing this? And see, that's the reason why I wanted you to know that God is expecting us as Christians. He said, for you're of God, and hereby know we the Spirit of truth. Well, how do you get to know the Spirit of truth? You get to know it by this book. See, I don't always go over what the news media tells me. Now, I don't mind, I'll listen to some of them, but I can tell right away most of the time when they're pulling my leg. When they're trying to con me into something. Now, why? Because he said down here, they are the world, and they speak of the world, and the world hears them. We are of God. He that knoweth God hears us. And this is the beloved John. This is the man who laid his head on Jesus' breast. He's called the beloved disciple. The disciple whom Jesus loved is the way he put it. And he said, now hereby we know the spirit of truth and the spirit of error. How do you get to know the spirit of truth? Because God in you and your fellowship and you walking with God and walking this word. Now, I want to point something else out to you. How are you going to keep the commandments of God if you don't know them? I can help you with this. There's one particular thing that you need to grab about if you don't grab anything else. And he said, this royal law of love. And that is, thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all your heart and all your soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. And then you need to go to 1 Corinthians 13. You need to get an amplified translation and read it. Love. God's love in us does not insist on its own rights, its own ways. Love won't keep a record of the evil done to it. Love will always believe the best of every person. So you see what I'm saying? Don't get caught up in this gaslighting. Don't get caught up in, well, it happens all the time. Somebody does something to you that you don't like. And you just feel like you got to get even with them. And so you go off and you go talking bad about them. And sometimes you just may be listening to the devil, and he's the one that's telling you that all this bad stuff is going to happen. He's going to come and cause trouble. She's going to come and cause trouble. And you're worrying over that instead of putting it in God's hand and praying for it. And this is where we know the spirit of truth or the spirit of error. Whether you are close enough to God to hear his voice and to know that no matter what you do, you walk him up. Love. God's love in us does not insist on its own rights, its own ways. Now that wife that's trying to manipulate her husband with her flesh. Now, I didn't say too much about the husband, but I'm fixing to say something about him. Now, what if this old boy here, and I'm going to probably make another video on it, maybe a little stronger because it goes in a different direction, but I'm going to throw this in here right now. What if this old boy is a lot like the way my daddy used to be? My daddy was an alcoholic, and when he got drunk, you walked around that wall just like a mouse. You didn't do anything to make him mad at you, because the last thing you wanted was his wrath coming at you. Well, I've watched him use that intimidation, and I even one time, I came by the bathroom and they were in the bathroom, the door was open, but evidently she had said something or did something he didn't like, and he was mad, and he grabbed her by the arm, and I went in at 16 years of age, and I grabbed his arm, and that's when it stopped, Daddy, and Daddy said, "You're going to cause me and these boys to have trouble." Now, why? See, it's because you're not walking in love. And here's the other side of it. Now, my daddy wasn't a Christian, so I can't lay that on him. Okay? But if you're a Christian, you're not supposed to be doing that kind of stuff. Now, if you're a Christian and you're putting your hands on your wife, you're on some dangerous territory. You're operating under this manipulation, but now instead of manipulation, you tried the manipulation, it didn't work. Now you're trying to intimidate her and scare her and make her do what you want her to do. And then she won't do it. Now you're threatening to put your hands on her, or you're putting your hands on her. And that, if you're a Christian, you're way out of line. I don't care who you are. You don't know God the way you say you know God. Now, the women have corrupted masculinity. Toxic masculinity. Machiera, marari, marangoloto, barasato noto. They've taken what God created. That's supposed to be the head of the house. But this man is the man that's supposed to be walking in love toward that woman. And he's supposed to put that woman on a pedestal and treat her like a queen. Now, I know there's going to be times that she's going to try, because all of us, none of us are perfect. So there may be times that she's going to see things different, and she wants to argue with you, and she wants to try to dominate you. I've seen that happen a lot. And let's go back to something that was said several years ago. If mama ain't happy, nobody ain't happy. Mama's going to storm through that house, and the kids are going to shrink when she goes by, and the husband just going to bow his head and stay out of the way. They don't want the wrath of mama on them. If mama ain't happy, nobody ain't happy. That is not the picture of a godly woman. You hear me? That's the picture of a woman and a man that's yielding to demonic spirits. You're letting the devil get his thoughts in your head, and you think you're thinking them. But he's the one that's behind it, and this is what we're talking about. Any type of manipulation, intimidation, or domination is all from demonic activities. And it all is a work of the flesh. You can go back to Galatians chapter 5 and read it. In fact, let me go there right quick. Let's look at this. But if you be led under the Spirit, you're not led of the Spirit, you're not under the law. Now the work